Hello YouTubers, so I am back here with another intercom system related video, and I finally got my Atlas AA200PHD amplifier in, which is actually, it sounds fantastic. Now this is a very heavy amplifier. I'm going to say it's a little heavier than the AA120, the 120 that Atlas Sound used to make, but otherwise, it's about the same size as the AA120 amplifier. Now, this one is the second to the top. The 400's at the very top. So, I would like to, hopefully by next year, get my hands on a 400 as well as an SHS speaker, because I've noticed that the prices of those amplifiers are, well, at least the 400 is starting to drop a little bit. I see the cheapest at $300 still. I like to go a little bit cheaper. I paid, by the way, $90 for this amplifier. That's right, $90, because it was posted as for parts are not working, because obviously the seller didn't know how this worked, which I'm not surprised. So I got a nice deal with this amplifier. Now, my only complaint with just the the PHD amplifiers here is this power button's quite small. Unlike the older AA professional mixer amplifiers, the buttons were like this one here, nice and big. This one is so small, and not only that, but I had an issue with this button at first. So when I turn it off, when I would try to turn off this amp, the button would stay stuck because there was so much resistance between this button itself and then the aluminum face here. And I fixed it by putting a pinch of WD-40 in there. Like, I actually had to squirt a little bit of WD-40 so this button can pop out properly, because I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is aircraft aluminum or what, but it's aluminum. It's not plastic like a Toei amplifiers are, where the face is made of plastic. And it's the same with the AA professional mixer amplifiers too. It has an aluminum face. Now these labels you see here, that's what came with the amplifier. You got your typical PHD button, which, by the way, I did click it and my setup passed the test, so there's no unusual things going on. So, and this amplifier does have a cooling fan on the inside, just like your Toei integrated amplifiers. But this amplifier is so efficient, and the reason I'm saying that is because this amplifier produces like literally no heat at all, like probably barely anything. It does not get hot, which is surprising because this is a 200 watt amp. It does not get hot whatsoever. And that cooling fan has not kicked on once. And the other thing with this amp too is it's so powerful. I could barely get the signal indicator to kind of flash a little bit. It's already very loud, and this signal's barely going. So I'm not actually getting into dangerous levels, as I like to call them. But I did make a video clip of all these lights in action going when I make a page, because for my paging interface I have going on here, I just hooked up my homemade paging interface, just like what I did with the Toei amp, which, by the way, I did cover that homemade paging interface in a video on how to make it. But it's kind of strange. So sometimes these two will flash, do their little flash when the signal goes through, and then when I hang up, the signal will kind of flash, and then this will sometimes be steady on for like a second or two, and they'll go off. What that limit does is it's a overcurrent protection. So if it senses that there's too much current, passing through this amp when the levels are so high, that limit will kick in. So it's kind of an intelligent amplifier, we'll call it. That knob, this one was missing a knob, but I just stole it off of input 5 and shoved it for the master. Because how this amp works, and same with the AA professional mixer amps, you have all your inputs here. And then you have your master control that adjusts all those preset input levels at the final stage, or let's say final stage. So if I set this here and then this here, this will affect all of this. So what I usually do in terms of these amplifiers, I preset my page, which is, by the way, this is page. I have it preset to this level. And then I leave it around 6 on this amp for the master. The only one I'll ever touch is input 6, because that's pretty relevant for this setup. Because that's my auxiliary signal is input 6. It does have RCA. Now I have this connected to an outlet over here, which this outlet I added on very recently. It's on another circuit, so that way I'm balancing loads out. So this amp is on its own circuit. This tower amplifiers here, that power bar, that's on another circuit. And then also the other stuff in this room, like this outlet and the lights here, that's on another circuit. So I have 3 circuits coming into this room. And I never had overloading issues, but when you first turn on this amp, like if I connected a lamp, on that power strip or on that circuit that this amplifier is on, the lights will literally dip for a second. Kind of like when a central AC system comes on, or air conditioning. Your air conditioning unit kicks on, how the lights kind of dim for a little bit as soon as it kicks on. It's kind of the same thing with this. So this takes a lot of power when you first turn it on. Here are the ports in the back / the speaker outputs. No 100 volts on this one, which is quite surprising. The AA professional mixer amplifier, such as the AA120, that one has a 100 volt option, but this one doesn't have that. I wonder why they removed it on this one. Here are their connectors in the back, and believe it or not, that is a 3.5 millimeter jack, which is unusual. That is for channel 4, which is the input 4. This is input 6 here. Here's amp in stuff in the back, pre-out for if you need to connect it to mixers and whatnot, other mixers. And I believe that's input 5 and whatnot. Now, I do want to get a remote control. Well, it's like a separate unit, but it's a separate control that this amplifier would work with. Atlas Sound does make a remote control type of thing. Not the remotes that you point at TVs and whatnot, but it's like a hardwired unit that runs, I think it works up to 200 feet away, if I'm not mistaken, from the amplifier. It can work up to 200 feet away from this. And this is where you connect all of that, is right here. Through a Cat 5 cable. Just connect through the Cat 5. Now this little box here that you see, that is my homemade paging device that I made not too long ago. This is extension 810. So here comes my phone line from the Cisco router coming off of an FXO port. There's a 9-volt battery in here that basically goes through a loop, and then I have this tapped off the loop coming back in here. I covered it in a video very recently, so if you look on the channel, it's there. You just have to find it. And then from this, it goes straight into my microphone or my audio inputs for channel 1. This one's my negative, this is my positive. And it's quite sensitive. Let's do a test page on it, because I'm sure you guys are ready to hear a test page. I'm going to dial extension 810 for my Cisco 7960 IP phone. And it sounds pretty clear too. A lot more clear than the turbo amp. Can Jerry report to the bakery line? Once again, can Jerry please report to the bakery line? Thank you. It's quite loud. Now the page isn't as loud as that pop, but the reason I don't want to turn it up anymore is because that limit light does kick in when I hang up and that pop sound goes through. That light will kick on. You know, an occasional flash, according to the manual, is okay. But if that's always like steady on or flashing too rapidly, that's not good. So I already looked at the manual for that amp, and I'm aware of all of that, the specs and whatnot. And this side's also hooked up, including this bogan. So let's do a dial tone, because I'm sure you guys want to hear a dial tone. It's quite loud. So yeah, I'm happy to acquire this amp. For a while, I've been watching this amplifier probably since April of this year. That's when I noticed this on eBay. It used to be, I think it used to be $120. And then sometime around between May or June, in the past few months, the seller had marked it down even more because I'm sure he's eagerly trying to get rid of this thing. And then I decided a couple weeks back to finally buy this. I was gonna let it pass, but I couldn't pass up that opportunity. And I thought I'd show this to you guys as well, because all you've probably seen are those little infomercial whatever things that usually some sound providers usually do, or contractors do on the make short videos with, but not really in depth like how I'm doing it here. Now this is a mixed system, and I'm sure you guys probably want to hear some music, so not too bassy either, not as powerful as a Toa in terms of bass, but that's good enough for this. And yes, even this vintage Wilgan's working on this. Notice how loud I have it? I don't even have the signal's not even going. Barely. I have to turn it up quite a ways to just get it to barely flash. There we go. Barely. So we can put a lot of power out. So yeah, unfortunately when I page, which I probably should test this so you guys can see it, it does not, there's no mute revision going on this right now. It just kind of, I could just talk over the music like how some stores have it going. So yeah, it's pretty loud, and that's barely getting the signal light to go. I'm not even getting at peak, and it's really loud. Not a bad amplifier. And I believe Atlas Sound made these, I think these were out in the market around 2015 or 2016. One of those two, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this amplifier wasn't probably designed for really a mixed system like how I have it going here. Now, I do have a few Atlas Sound products like this horn, this G161-A, and this GA15T, but everything else, we have a Quam rebrand here, which is a Harris, a couple Bogans, Another Bogan over here, Rowland, JBL, and a Lowell. Ultra mix system here. But it works just fine. We probably should test that PHD. Maybe you guys want to see that. So, I'm turn the music off. Let's do the PHD because I think you guys want to see it in action. So you notice that signal light? Now you have to use something like a thumbtack or paper clip or maybe a pearl earring like in my case that I found lying around, but you just click it right up in there. It plays a tone. If you see that signal light, that's good, but if you get a signal light and this limit light kicks in, that's bad. That means you have an error somewhere on your system, or such as incorrectly tapping a speaker at 8 watts instead of the 70 volts that you have that the rest of the system's at. This only applies to the 70 volt side. It does not apply to any of the other taps. Just the 70 volts according to the manual. So it does accept the mix system, no problems. As long as that limit light doesn't kick in, we're good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this special video of the Atlas Sound AA200PHD.